Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and the background Stardew Valley game is at a slightly more progressed state than it was last time, because in between then and now I actually lost that original footage, so I had to restart, well not restart, but just start a new recording. So this is like a couple days I think after where we left off, but okay, that's just an aside. So today I just want to do a little rant about being misunderstood in general, and mostly by strangers, which is one of those things that's always kind of bothered me, because a lot of the times you see somebody doing something like in passing on the street and you're like, oh, they're doing X, Y, or Z, and you don't think about it and then you move on. Now the thing with me in particular is that of course I always wanted to do the right thing, and that's led to a couple of situations that looked really weird from the outside, but nobody actually stops to ask you what you're doing and why you're doing things. And when you have like Autism Spectrum Disorder or ADHD, you have certain reasonings for doing the things that you do, and a certain set of like morals, values, right and wrong and all that, that other people possibly also have, but they don't really act on. And by that I mean a situation like I used to live along this long bicycle path, well, in an area that was surrounded by a very long bicycle path, and there were ducks there along the water, so to speak. And one day I was cycling along one of those paths and I see that somebody has run over a duck. So there was a dead duck laying on the road. It looked like it had only happened recently because it was still in one piece and everything. So I stopped my bike because I want to move it off of the road and into the grass, because if you leave it there, people are going to keep running over it, and eventually it's going to turn into a huge smudge full of intestines and feathers. It's going to basically be disrespected on a daily basis, and I really didn't want that for the poor dead duck that had already been run over. So I stop my bike, I get off, I pick up the duck, and I want to move it into the grass. And just as I'm doing that, somebody else cycles past, and they, instead of stopping to ask what's going on, they just like cycled past me, and they kept like turning around to look at me with this look in their eye like, oh my god, they killed the duck, like that. I'm just standing there with this duck in my hand, just trying to put it into the grass, and I'm seeing them, and I'm like, well, like, why didn't you ask me what's going on? You know what I mean? And this actually happened twice, because I lived in that area for some time, so I saw dead ducks regularly, so I've picked up a few dead ducks and moved them off the road a couple of times. And twice during those times that happened when somebody didn't stop to ask what was going on, they just made their assumptions. And so there are at least two people apparently in the world that think that I ran over a duck and then tried to hide the evidence or something along those lines. So there's that. And of course people with autism or ADHD, they tend to do things, like I said, more often that other people might not quite understand, and that means people just judging you without stopping to ask what's going on happens more often. Usually it's not quite so dramatic as holding a dead duck at the wrong moment. Other times you may have, like, I don't know, walking down the road, you have a certain thought or whatever, and it makes you have a certain expression, or it makes you act out a certain way. I don't know, I can't really think of a good example, but something a lot simpler and less dramatic. So somebody sees you doing something and they don't understand what it is, but they make assumptions about what it is. And combined with something like the famous resting bitch face, or maybe you're masking a certain way, giving you a Mona Lisa smile, and the combination between the action that they don't understand and your facial expression makes them go, what the heck's wrong with this person? It's just not a very good look, but nobody stops to ask, and that's really something that's always bothered me. Like, I've never had a really weird reason for doing something. Like, if anybody had walked up to me during any of these times to ask me what was going on, I would be able to explain perfectly well what I was doing, and then you go, oh, hey, I guess that makes sense, and then they just wish me a happy day, and I'd wish them a happy day, and we'd move on with our lives, or something along those lines. So I think that that is something that tends to get in the way a lot. Particularly, like I said, I already have this resting bitch face, so I have certain expression on me that I cannot really control unless I'm like super masking, but then I look like I'm smiling at people, even though I'm not intentionally smiling at people, which also tends to get interesting reactions, by the way. On the one hand, some people will just smile back at you, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm smiling apparently. And other people really like react because they think that you're laughing at them, and then they start acting out negatively. So it's usually one of those two. It's never really a neutral thing. But anyway, so due to people seeing something different about you, they tend to project things on you that you didn't do, but they believe you did because it's you, and they don't really like you because of the things that you do, which are weird to them. And none of that really holds any like water Like there's no objective facts to back up their assumptions about you, but still. Like there are at least 3 neighbors that I can just think of off the top of my head that don't speak to me but tend to glare or avoid me or something, and I've never done anything to them. And I don't know why. They also don't like hint at anything. They never say anything, like I said, so it's not like I can like ask them what's going on. Well, I could ask them what's going on, but usually when you ask somebody directly like, hey, why are you ignoring me? They'll feel called out, and then they'll say, I'm not ignoring you, what are you talking about, you're crazy, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. So you gotta wait for the right moment to have like a conversation going already, and then maybe we can get onto the topic of something, and then you can go, oh, maybe this is what's going on, then you can maybe address it that way. Or basically I'm just waiting for somebody in a group chat to say something and like wonder aloud who did X, Y, or Z thing that they're not happy about, so I can say, not me, I would never do such a thing, and then maybe somebody else will go, oh hey, maybe it wasn't them who did the thing that I don't like, or whatever. So as long as nobody actually says anything directly to me, then I don't know why they're upset, and I can't correct their thinking in that regard, and they're not going to go and ask me anything or walk up to me because they already think I'm strange, so there's that. So then you just have people kind of staring at you awkwardly, or just ignoring you. Like we have this woman living on the other side of the street, and she is a self-assigned homeowners association or neighborhood watch committee person. We don't actually have such a committee in the neighborhood, but she is the type that keeps an eye on everybody and likes to chat with everyone that she sees, except me, so that she can keep an eye on what's going on in the neighborhood. So she's very nosy, she's always gossiping with people. If somebody is like working on the street somewhere and she sees it, she's going to come out and just have a little chat with them to see what's going on, and oh wow, that looks like an interesting thing that you're doing, blah blah blah, did anybody order you to do this, what's going on, blah blah. So she's constantly trying to keep track of everything. And she apparently also doesn't like me because whenever she runs into anybody else, she'll say hi. And when I walk past her, like when I'm walking the dog or something, I say hi, and she just kind of looks at me and then looks away. So I'm like, what did I do to you? Because I've never actually done anything to her. But you know, the thing with a lot of people who self-assign themselves the role of a neighborhood watch committee, they have this thing about them where they think that everybody who doesn't act, think, and speak like them is wrong automatically. So if you're not one of them, then you're automatically one of the others, and that means we're not going to talk to you apparently. But of course, since that autism spectrum disorder thing is a factor that I am aware of, at least I think that's a factor, but I'll talk about diagnosis in another video. I don't read emotions very well. I don't read facial expressions very well. I do have some idea of what's going on, but I'm never really, like, I tend to think that things are more negative than they possibly are, but I'm also often proven right, so maybe I'm not that bad at it after all, I don't know. I'm also not very good at reading what people want from you socially in a situation. Like maybe they expected me to show up and give them a, I don't know, gift basket or something at some point when I moved in, and I didn't do that, and I didn't go over to introduce myself, and therefore I'm automatically weird. And whenever I sit on my balcony, I don't really like to sit on a regular chair because then everybody can see you sitting there, and when I am sitting on my balcony, I'm like, it's kind of like sitting in your backyard. You don't tend to put yourself on display when you're in your backyard either, so I sit on a lower stool so that I can kind of look over the edge of the balcony, but I don't really like stick out. So I have my little private garden, basically, that's the whole idea. I just do that because I like privacy, but they might have a whole different idea about why I do what I do, I don't know. But either way, it's annoying, and it's not much I can do about that. Like I said, people aren't going to walk up to you and say, hey, I think there's something wrong with you for XYZ reason, and I think you did this and that to my stuff or whatever, or that you're doing this or that on purpose. And if they don't do that, then I can't say that it's not me. Like, for instance, somebody in an apartment above me has a tendency to do their laundry in the middle of the night, because I think they have like odd hours or something, so often we'll hear the laundry going at about 10 or 11 p.m. and that means the water's going to be running through the pipes, that machine's going to take water and then stop taking water, and then you have like this bang going through the pipes, and it's annoying to everybody. But I think somebody who lives below me thinks that that's me doing the laundry, but they never actually asked me, like, hey, stop doing your laundry in the middle of the night, because then I could have said, well, that's not me, I never do that, I do that during the day. And maybe they don't think that at all, and it's just like the thing that I came up with to explain why they're ignoring me or trying to avoid me. I have no idea. But they apparently think I'm doing something wrong, because otherwise they wouldn't be avoiding me and not others. So that's kind of like my whole story about that. And there's other people who do similar things. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to talk about today. And if you have any experiences like that, make sure to put that in the comment section below as well. Make sure to leave any type of comment, really, because I'd like to know what everybody's thinking. In the meantime, hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.